Let's see, how's it going here? We're saying it says Republicans, but what I really mean when I say Republicans, I mean Republicans 2012, they lost. I want to go back to their debate, and I want to talk and focus on what the Republicans did wrong and how they lost. In my opinion, it was kind of the beginning of the end to them. And we're going to get into this evil gun control. This is designed for the Marines that were unable to arm themselves or defend themselves when a crazy lunatic goes in and shoots them all. And they represent my military, and I want my military to be able to not be in a situation like that. So we're saying evil gun control, and we're blaming it all on Bill Clinton once again. We're gonna vilify Bill Clinton to the max on these 4 murders. He has some to blame. His actions, this evil gun control, they want to try to do different little things like that when liberals, Democrat presidents get in there here lately, the past 20 years or more, ever since uh, JFK was assassinated. I think that they programmed the Democrat Party to have a design to go after people's guns rights. And so that leans towards them going against everybody else's rights, your freedom of speech, and every other right that people have and had for years, for hundreds of years now. So the bitter, the bittersweet, or the bitter sour, and it looks more sour. It looks more sour to me. The more I look at it, the more that I am aware of things that are going on and what this lame duck, almost basically president that we have now. He's just like Bill Clinton. It's Bill Clinton rolled over. He's using Bill Clinton's playbook. There's a reason why Bill Clinton um, went and helped establish Obama over Hillary Clinton in '08. Bill Clinton campaigned for Barack Obama back then instead of his own wife. And then you want to bring up ethics, like their ethically got it uh, going on in their mind or something. So we're talking evil gun control. Then we want to talk about Trump. We're going to talk about when we say talk Trump, we do mean because we realize now, since we read it in a conservative Tribune or somewhere I got it along the way. I read an article. It said, I'll just kind of reviewed it real quick, but it said that Trump back in '09, when Obama was just fresh, was saying, "Oh, Obama's gonna do great. He's just getting started." So what we're saying is the left created Donald Trump. Um, and I said on my last video, my very last video that I made here, I said that the Democrats should ought to go back to college. They should go take an economic class, not just that, but they need to take a business course too, with in mind to create their own business and get their butt out of politics and go try and create a business. Maybe people will let you come back and run again later, if you can go and prove that you can take the money that we gave you as a politician, go start up a business, and don't run it into the ground, and then have to go feel and deal with all of the tax consequences that you placed on all the businesses across America. So no wonder Donald Trump. I'm listening to the guy more and more every day. Um, he was on the Herman Cain show yesterday. I was listening to him a little bit, so I know that part part of what I was saying. The Republicans, they were vilifying each other in a debate back in 2012. So when when he had all these Republicans come up, and each one of them whether it had been Perry or whoever, and these guys are gonna, even though they might hear this video and watch the whole thing and hear exactly what I said. I said that you go out and you say what you're gonna do. Don't bash the other guy whenever you're trying to get people to vote for you. It's really, if I could prove a point and have people looking at this as a voter in particular, it's not necessarily what people say, but what they do. And you can feel a lot of what people are gonna, how they will do and handle the job from their own words, though, before you go and give them the job. So if they're sitting there bashing the other guy, they're really taking away from the Republican forum and really giving a lot of people a lot of ammunition to go after all these different Republicans and conservative point of views. And I'm not the politician. I just believe I'm a conservative, and I think that the country should be run right to where anybody has opportunity here. And it's only obvious that people, certain people whoever work the hardest should end up achieving the most. But you have people who are, they're not wasting their time or their life, but they are growing weary and they're very tired and they're wore out from having to, you know, take care of the government. The government takes care of all these people, and then the liberal side, the Democrat side of things here, then want the working class people, they're working stiffs, and some cases to some of these liberals in their way of thinking, just working stiffs, but they depend on all these people working in order to pay all the taxes and everything and all the people that they want to pay, right? And countries. So we're talking about the evil Republicans. We want to hear what you're going to do, how you're going to fix this thing, and we don't want to hear very much vilifying the other people. So when, say, if Trump, when I was listening to him yesterday, if he would had um, refrained from that and moved right into, yeah, this is how I'm going to get everybody feeling good about their work, and when they go to a job and give them a meaningful feeling for having a purpose in life and why they're going. So anyhow, so four Marines killed the other day. I wonder if most of the people know that I was raised in the Marine Corps, and I didn't ever get to join the service. I had some issues going on, some personal issues. I don't really want to get too much into those, but I worked hard against all of those problems that I would say have. So I tried my best to get there. I was able to get a high school diploma, graduate, um, and everything. Uh, I had some other issues that I fell back on. Living in a liberal society, so maybe I was having too much fun my own self in a liberal society. That was supposed to be Republican too. But anyhow, so I did try to go into the service. I did, but it was too late. I was too old, and I realized that kind of myself. But I work, even though I'm much older now. I'm still trying to renew my body. That's either it's either I'm going to go out and get a job and do all the stuff that I do now, garden, take care of my family, all of their needs, and then I take care of dogs. They're my family too, and then go to a job on top of that to pay Uncle Sam. I'm either going to do that or I'm going to rest up and figure out how to um, get my body to rejuvenate itself completely, so I'm like fresh and new. Not young. I realize I won't be young, but I'll be fresh and new. Either that, or like I said, I'm going to go balls out, and I'm just gonna work tirelessly until I kill myself, until I'm dead. That's my that's what I think that I'm gonna go. Either direction. You can go one way or the other. I can either do that, and I'm going to use that to get really like massively strong, like Samson strong, practically. But I'm not gonna do it necessarily so I can rip somebody out of the turnbuckle. It's for so that I can do all of these things. So I'm trying to reach in my own personal life right now. I'm trying to reach a point where I can do all of the objects that I need to do in a day, not be completely pooped out, and get to a natural level where I can take a 15-minute power nap if I need to in the middle of the day. I was taught three when I was in college. Just coach, our coach told us we needed to do 3 power naps a day if you can. Go into a dark room and lay down flat and keep your head level with your heart. But I plan on doing that. But just being able to have sound sleep at night and sleep naturally from the time that you're supposed to sleep, starting at night, till the time that you're supposed to naturally wake up in the morning. That's what objective I'm trying to reach. So before we get any too further into this, I just wanted to say something that's my opinion, how I feel. People are trying to make excuses for being accepting homosexuality in the world, and that it's okay, and that we can present it to everybody. I just have one thing to say to all of you guys. This reminds me of Madonna a lot. I have a real problem with Madonna and what she did to our culture, and I have a problem with her. Yes, I do, in particularly whenever it comes to immorality. I had a girlfriend before when I was a teenager. She was fully into Madonna, and now I can kind of relate with the girl and also feel through her how Madonna is, and feel Madonna through this ex-girlfriend that I had that really adored Madonna, was all about Madonna. But what it is, see, they're trying to say use something from the animal kingdom. There's these many species of animals that exhibit homosexuality. Well, they probably wouldn't have noticed unless you went and paid that close attention to it all. But animals have nothing to do with us. We are animals, humans are, but we are different than the savage beast. We're not. If we showed a kind of a savagery, it would be even different than you would get out of a lion or something else like that. You're not. I say naturally. You might not. You might see humans exhibit some trait that's exactly like a lion would go and rip the person's throat out or something like that. But that's not naturally human. So when I look at Madonna, I think of um, bestiality, um, then incest. So do you guys believe in incest now? Do you believe that you can sleep with your sister or your mom or you know your dad? You can sleep with your family members. Now, I don't know about too far off about cousins and stuff like that. I'm not going to get too far into that because I don't have a particular belief necessarily, and I'm not trying to make an excuse with people and first cousins getting married. All I know is there could be some problems naturally that could occur because it's not a natural thing. Whenever you come that close to the stock, and it does it because it's God does. If you're religious, He speaks about it in a sequence: incest, bestiality, homosexuality. Man shall not lie with another man. And they want to try to make an excuse, but still, we have proof, even if it might be in the phenomenon part of why people get AIDS from doing that, or why it could necessarily make men weaker than they would have been if either men would have both found a woman and been with the woman. The woman is key to making a man who he really is. So I don't have a woman to say, but in my life, but I am I just I'm not I'm not going either way at this point. I just know that I'm open to marriage. That's all I can say. And that I don't feel like I'm any less than I am. Maybe there's a way that certain people who basically end up, that's what life throws at you. You end up single or by yourself or whatever. All that you need in order to be who you are. So, Christopher, and I'm going to say basically like write the book of Christopher, like head to sainthood, sainthoodism. Why not? Why wouldn't you? Do you have a problem with God? You know, I want, and people they bash Christianity and Christ all the time, but I like one person to show me how their opinion on how you perceive Jesus Christ as dangerous, and that you never hear it. You won't ever hear that ever. No, 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 no. Got animals coming out of my ears. It's good if you can take care of them. You have plenty of space, and uh, they're not causing a problem. I think it's great if people have multiple animals or a animal, cat or dog. Animals out there, they deserve a family. Like I said, they're not. You see a dog exhibit something, they're not human. So don't. I heard of a guy. I read it was a while ago, but there was an article I read. It said a guy gave up his dog because he was homosexual, because he tried to hump another dog. And see, there's even a difference in that. When they do that, they're not doing it for fun or to be gay or homosexual. They're doing it for dominance. The dog is particular. So the female can exhibit the humping trait also just like a male could, because they're trying to establish dominance over the other one. So, anyways, before I get back into these four Marines that were slain the other day at a naval compound and how evil it was for Bill Clinton to take their guns away from them is part of evil gun control. I want to finish up this Madonna thought that I have here and say when all these people are talking about all this, it's okay to be gay or it's okay for this, it's okay for that. As soon as you open the door for one thing, you're gonna open up Pandora's box. Is that a good way of putting that? I heard somebody say a can of worms. So, all I knew is that bestiality is wrong, incest is wrong, and if somebody wants to argue with you about homosexuality, just I just want to know: are you all right now in accepting incest, or do we not still think that's a weird thing? Or no, that's weird. Incest. That close. Inside your own family unit, your particular family unit that you came out of, you sleep with one of those people in there, that is uh it was such a disgrace. Back in the day, it was in the Old Testament. Things have changed a little bit now, but God's opinion, I do not think, is changed. So he still would. Back in the day, it says he would have made you die. So from what I understand, he would have sent the Holy Spirit in. The Holy Spirit would have came in. This is Bible text. This is what that would have maybe have gave some insight to what was going on, because there's some reason why when God says you're gonna die over doing this in particular, why the persons would wind up dead on the spot or whatever, and a curse and curse to die. So anyways, liberals trying to figure out how to send the guy home. I was saying that the guy, but they killed him. I just wanted to send this is a bulletin to all police departments all across the United States. I think that you guys are doing an excellent job whenever it comes to cracking down on these terrorists. Anyhow, even though the military should have been allowed to have their own arms and fight them, is ridiculous why they're doing that. Next thing you know, these liberals are going to come in and take the police's guns away from them, and we're going to be stuck in a situation where we're going to need the military and the cops, all of them, and even ourselves, and they're taking our guns from us too. So it's going to be almost impossible for, if we get invaded by another country or if something really happens here bad, for us to be able to take up arms, and even the police. So no wonder a lot of sheriff's departments and other places stand up firm for our Second Amendment right to the right to bear arms. It's no wonder. But so I'm just saying, the bulletin is you're doing a good job, in my opinion. If somebody goes in and does that, I wish that somebody could have had a firearm or some way to have killed the white guy in South Carolina, and just killed him too, because that's also a terrorist act. That could be a homegrown or home terrorist act here. But if somebody's not from America, I don't know that it's necessarily homegrown terror. It really sounds like it's just a terrorist act. From what this guy did the other day, the people the authorities wanted to label it as a like it was an American grown terrorist or something. And he lived here for a while, but that's not the case. He's a foreign person, no matter what. Even though he was given citizenship or however that worked, the way I look at it as it was just downright terrorism. So it's an evil way that they're going to take our guns, and that's just an example right there. Because see, Bill Clinton, from what I understand, Bill Clinton made it a law, and I guess George Bush didn't know about it. So George Bush went the whole 8 years, nobody said anything to him about it. Somebody should have wrote him a letter, or anonymous letter or something. But if there was people that go in between the letter to the president, and then he couldn't get the word, the letter or the word, that law was in effect, then how could he have taken the law out of existence? So we're looking for Trump or whoever becomes our next president to undo that law and allow our military to be armed to the teeth and respectively be able to kill anybody in self-defense like that. And there's enough laws, okay, to can contradict one's actions and have people face enough individually, because it all ends up being an individual crime. The percentage is so small and insignificant to make it a political thing. But the fact that he did that to the military now leads us up to this point in time now, to where we can have another liberal dictator president come in all of a sudden and say, hey, look what these guns did. As if taking more of our guns to defend ourselves with is going to solve the situation of us being hunted down and killed like dogs innocently. When, just because they're a military guy, I want to know, you Muslim pukes, why you're going after the military like that? Why aren't you going after gay clubs, or why aren't you going after immoral places? Why do you have to go to some of the last respectable people in America that stand for something and principles and morals, and you go and attack them instead of going and attacking somebody else who's out here sinning? I just want to know, if your radical Muslim agenda and the Muslim religion ain't off and just wrong altogether in a big, sure, you can explain it to me theoretically, you can be a theologian on it. You can throw the Quran out there and show me all these different things or whatever. I won't ever believe it. In 100 years, I think it's a crock of crap, and it doesn't bring people to a peaceful, sound solution, and a point where people are trustworthy again, and people can trust one another, and know that there's no liars around. It's not that time right now. So anyhow, so they make a law up when Bill Clinton was in there. Now, all these years later, it leads up to us having them come in with this issue after they made that stupid law right there. Look at what these guns did, and they're going to argue to take more guns away from law-abiding citizens, because that's how it's getting into the hands of the shooters, the people out here committing the crimes, killing people. So I know it's ridiculous. I know that basically it's so stupid they're treating other people like me and other conservative type of people that think that way like we're stupid. Because I know that if you had a cop sitting in the church when that guy went in there, and the cop was just sitting there and he had a gun and it was open so he could just draw it anytime. Okay, then what are you going to do? I say, if you're going to be like that, you guys needed to go and get metal detectors for y'all's churches and not take down the Confederate flag. The first thing that I thought was well, what do? You either arm somebody, but if you want these to be unarmed places, then you really need to square the whole area off, okay, and contain it. And whenever people come through there and pass, they all need to go through the checkpoints, just like everywhere else. And everybody gets screened coming through, regardless, bar none. If you want that to keep from happening again, that's my sound solution. So that's a evil gun control, evil way to try to take our guns that got 4 Marines murdered, and they hate the Marine Corps. Bill and Hillary Clinton, it's a fact. It's not some Cayenne West oddball off the wall bullshit remark. Pardon my language, but it's the truth. They absolutely despise the United States Marine Corps. I don't know about any of the other branches, but I know that they've personally dissed the Marines. And anybody else from? All right. So we're gonna come back because I want to talk about the Confederate flag some more too. But right now we want to talk Trump a little bit. Donald Trump back in 2009 supposedly was all boasting about Obama. Oh, Obama's gonna do great. Just wait. Talking all this smack. So he anticipated Obama doing a lot of good, which obviously him coming from a person who is a business person who, like I said, told the Democrats to, why don't you guys go back to college, go to business school, and then learn how to make a business, come out of the government for a while, go run a business, and if you want to come back, maybe we'll let you come back if you can prove that you can run a business without running it into the ground. And then you come back and you tell me that you don't feel all of all that you put into what do you say, depriving all of our businesses and all of our stores, all the places that we go to. You know that whenever they raise taxes, you know the business owners put a lot of that back on us as much as they can, right? The people running businesses, a lot of business people, regardless of whatever happened, the way they even vote themselves, the consequences to higher in taxes always comes back to inflation becoming higher and people paying more to help the business survive because the people are going to make their money one way or another on the norm, usually. So it frustrates me to see all this stuff happening and people not really know exactly what they're talking about. But the left created Donald Trump. Whatever monster they think that he is, they created him. And they also help sponsor and create people like me because they put people like me where I walked away from politics or I've decided, oh man, I'm just frustrated with it. Well, now they got me to the point where now I think that if I've got the cojones, so to speak, or whatever, to come on here and talk to people at times. Hopefully, I get a conversation sometime where we won't bicker, but the person won't run away either. Whenever I start talking politics, because I've had a guy come up on here one time and he started talking, and I don't even know if he even looked at the dog. He couldn't. He couldn't. He talked to me for a little bit, but then he couldn't handle the debate on this live stream. And I wanted to say, I'll just take the moment right now to thank Google Plus, Hangouts, Google Chrome. I'm not gonna chastise Google for any me talking here this through my computer and the ability that they gave me through YouTube, and thank them too for giving me and other people the abilities to be able to come out here and do this, and it's smooth. It really is. If there's a way that I could, when I improve, my skills are up to par. I just need to do all the things that my skills now tell me from the videos, the YouTube videos, school on how to make videos, telling me whenever I finally put all what they taught me together, I definitely see this Google Plus Hangout as a positive and a thing that I would want to, no matter where I wind up becoming big or tiny or staying tiny or maybe even smaller, I guess. I don't know. I don't have the greatest view margin right now, but if I had a really huge one, I would have to really consider staying with Google Plus and not run into another different outlet because they are good and it's good quality. So I just wanted to tell Google thanks for bringing us all this stuff, and YouTube also. all this ability. And everybody uses YouTube, no matter where they come from, Yahoo or whatever they do out here, their own TV network on television, they all come back to YouTube. So YouTube is a very elaborate thing. It's like you almost have to look at everybody in particular and figure out exactly where did you come up with that idea for that technology? Is that from the aliens? Oh, as I said, I watched Ancient Aliens yesterday. I'm always on this on this alien trip now. So I'm like, where'd you come up with that? Where'd you get that? That's pretty phenomenal thinking how you thought of that. So even if I have a wild thought, it sounds really cool. I think it is definitely God given, and I would definitely give God all the credit for a lot of different things. Some things it might possibly be He gave me the ability to do all on my own, so I can give myself the credit, but I would particularly give Him the credit. So that's Trump. That's how they got him. And I just wanted to say one more thing about Trump, that I believe that it was a bad thing when I believe Jesus set the tone back in the day whenever he confronted the rich man. And people put it into perspective that he was also a rich man. But if you go back and you read it, it says the rich young man. He was not the proprietor of all the wealth. All the man had to do, though, was go back and tell his father, I cannot be part of your wealth. I cannot be part, and be the what do you say, proprietor, or the person who inherits your wealth when you die, father. Because the person, when Jesus said, it is easier for a rich man to stream, it is easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. He was saying the truth, and he was speaking a phrase that they used, I believe, back then, and it really meant, it goes to speak on how on how bad some rich people can act, or some people with authority, maybe the money gave them power, and the power made their head blow up, and now they're not working with the conscience or something. So that could be a reason why it's true that it's harder for a rich man to go to heaven than it is for a camel to go through a needle. Impossible for a camel to go through a needle. It sounds like it. So it's a figure of speech. And he dissed the guy, and the guy almost fell backwards, right? And he's like, oh, Jesus just dissed me majorly and humiliated me. So Jesus humiliated the guy instead of bringing rich people in. So Jesus kind of, at that point, I believe, he kind of gave up people who are for him. I'm a Christian, and I believe in Christ. Stop, or I'm going to smack your ass. He kind of killed a lot of our opportunities to become wealthy and rich, because kings have been made, rich people have been made, all from the glory of believing in God and being not fictionally but realistically religious and Christian and firm in their belief. There has been many wealths that have been achieved. So I just look at that as kind of a punch kind of in the eye for being a Christian, believing in him, paying your 10% tithes. I think Jesus should have talked to the man a little bit and said, well, then if you go away, say Jesus should have said, well, then if you go away, don't diss the guy. Just give 10% of your earnings and whatever you're given, your inheritance or whatever, and that's enough for you to go out there, and then you must just be a believer in Christ. Lay it out to them, the laws of Christianity, how things changed and were supposed to be then, that Christ came to die for everybody's sins. But instead, he pushed the guy away. It wasn't a sin. Jesus got away with it. So, but I just think it was the wrong way to handle it. So I just wanted to put that out there for Donald Trump and say, Donald Trump, it's not bad to be a Christian. And if somebody wants to talk or knock Christianity or Christ, tell me one instance where anybody's ever been in danger of Christ. It's ridiculous. Tell me one time that anybody's ever been in danger of being a believer in Christ. You're not going to find it. It's not going to happen. Okay, so now we're moving on. It's to the Confederate flag. So I see the Seahawk up there. I've been a Seattle Seahawk fan for next year. It'll be 30 years. 30 years I've been a fan of that team. I've rooted for them. I've been through many. If you've been a fan of theirs for that long, you remember their first Super Bowl loss and how everybody, all the Seahawk fans, were hyped for them, just rooting for them. You know that as well as I do that there was a lot of seasons that were for nothing, that were for naught. They didn't even make the playoffs. Their first playoff appearance with Pete Carroll, they were 7-9, like the Carolina Panthers were, for crying out loud. So they played the Saints and they bumped the Saints off. So that tells you something. The Seahawks were able to beat the Carolina Panthers when they're 7-9. Well, I don't want to change division in it. It's because the Seahawks beat the Saints back then and they were 7-9. Don't ever underestimate any NFL team. And if they're a weaker team, they're going to lose the game anyways. And the right team that should go is going to be there anyhow. Regardless if you have two teams in a division that are both 14-2 or 13-3, neither one of them are going to bump each other off more than the first seed to the fifth seed for that much. They're both going to appear in the playoffs, and maybe the team that falls behind the other one from maybe losing a game to the other team in the season is going to affect the way that it turns out, because they'll have to play all the games. But remember, the Giants, when they went to both of their Super Bowls, when they beat the Patriots there, they went and they were 9. What was they? 9-7. Is that how you say that? No. 16 games, something like that. So they were the underdog through the whole thing, and basically what I'm saying is they were the road team. They had to travel to each place all the way. So it doesn't matter how they set the playoffs and the division matchups and the way that the wild card and everything works is a great way for the NFL. Don't change it. But anyhow, so Doug Baldwin comes on the other day and he rants about how he does like a dissertation on the Confederate flag. He's like, yeah, that's not even the original flag. That was the Robert E. Lee's battle flag or whatever, this and that. So you can tell that they're taught one side of what the Confederate flag meant. And they're teaching the same thing now in Florida, a state that was in the Confederacy and was for the South and was oppressed. So if people can understand, I was going to say, why, if they did say, oh, we have to bring back the slaves, because the North is dodging the fact that they had something to do with the war, and that they also owned slaves, their own self. So they were slave owners, but nobody looks at Northern people like, oh, you're dead wrong of having slaves too in the past. Oh, you cleaned you know, you wiped your hands clean of them slaves by what you did, you know. But they're getting out of the fact that they were evil, sort of. I mean, more or less, and they treated the South like second class citizens, and they wanted the South, the Southerners, to work for nothing and to pay into the economy, into the United States system. They wanted them to make and develop all the cotton and everything in the world, and basically get paid nothing for it. And they in the North were already would take the cotton and they would produce it into clothes, and they would make all of the money in the world anyways, but they wanted more money than all of the money in the world. So the Civil War happened because they were like, that's not what I believe that they said. I think that the Southerners were like, yeah, they're putting us into a point where we're going to have to legalize slavery again in order to survive, because it's so outrageous to live. We can't even support our own families with what we have, owning our own farms, having our own industry, our own self, which is all farming agriculture. So the North took way too advantage of the South. That's how the Confederate flag was derived and was created, was because of Southern oppression, Southerners being oppressed. So if somebody comes out and they say, "Oh, that flag was because of slaves, or because of they wanted to fight for the right to have slaves," they're lying, and they're told the wrong story, and people should be ignored completely, because that is not the truth. The same thing is going on that happened back then, to people now. It's no different. So what we see here is we see people being taken advantage of, overtaxed, and basically when we broke off from the England, that's what the Tea Party was all about too, was being overtaxed or whatever. But what the North did was they thought they were smart, and they, even up to this point, they still think they're going to get away with what they did in the South, in the Civil War to the South. And that is try and charge the South however they could for growing their own cotton. So now, whenever you say that people fighting for the Confederate flag, and saying that whatever you guys argue that it's racist, you guys are being racist today and using that as an excuse to let oppressors get away with offensively oppressing people. And that's what the the Democrats were in the South too. And now it's kind of opposite. The Democrats are up there and they're getting even, right? Democrats, they were the ones from the South, the Republicans were the ones from the North, right? So now you got it kind of flipped backwards. You're looking for men to be decent to each other and to be ethical and have morals. So, like in Christian or in church, you wouldn't act up in church, would you? Well, you're not supposed to act up in any of these other places either. So, if they say that, they're saying all Southerners are all racists. They all hate black people. Okay, and that's what they're saying. They're calling out every white person in the South, at least, and they're saying every white person in the South back then and now, and maybe even white people all around, if they approve of the Confederate flag, for crying out loud, you can either make it racist or not, but it does not come from hate. And I said that the other day. I said it's a fact, because you say like the KKK, they talk bad about Jews. And in the Bible says we're supposed to defend Jews. So no matter what that's all about, it's still some things you're just supposed to do, not supposed to question. And that's another Marine Corps motto that they use there. Mine is not to question why, mine is just to do or die. Right? Very military action. So I'm saying that yeah, whenever you put the Confederate flag and the American flag together, it reminds me of division in America, of dividing us all. They didn't just divide us, say, racially, but they would actually split black people up from black people, and they would split white people up from white people, and they just split people up, all up in general. One side is right, one side is not, but somehow today what we're looking for is a way how we can get our politicians to somehow do what's right and all come to the middle. When they meet in the middle, they're only doing what's right. They don't do their own selfish thing, give themselves a pay raise, and think clearly only of themselves and their own personal, you know, desires or what things that they want to accomplish. But if you become the president, you have to think of everybody's accomplishments and what everybody wants and consider it for everybody. How do I work for everybody? How do I make it work for everybody? Dude, I'm gonna spank you. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. You get over here and lay down. You wanna see this dog that's causing me problems? Come here. This is Pedro. He's a rascal. I got him down there at the west side, I believe. Stop it! Stop! He's not fixed, and he's trying to get at my other dogs or girls, and they're all fixed, each one of them, and he doesn't understand. They don't know what the world he's doing. But anyhow, so before I go, I just want to say that I think that is very offensive, and it's a very oppressive gesture and statement to throw and smack white people even more, right? Because is there a white month, right? We have Black People's Month. We have a Gay Month now, but we have no White People's Month. Let's make a White People's Month, and then they're gonna say that's racist. As soon as people start saying that's racist, I'm gonna start saying how. How is that racist? I want to know how that's racist. To go back and glorify all of the achievements, good things that white people have done to contribute to the planet. Not bad things. I'm talking about good things. So, anyhow. Oh yeah. The next president, if it is Donald Trump, he needs to give Edward Snowden a pardon. The next president, if I was president, if I was the next consideration of the next president, y'all voted for me, I would pardon the guy and he'd be on a plane back to America. And he'd say, well, today, Trump, Putin. He said he'd get along with him, with Putin. Oh, I just wanted to know, I had another good question before I go. They're talking about, I seen somebody say on this liberal, they think that no conservatives are going to go look up their comments and see what these idiots are saying. But I want to know where the right wing, the conservative, what is it, propaganda is. They said right wing conservative propaganda, conspiracies on the right, propaganda. Hello, libtards. If any libtards is out there, libtards, I want to know where the propaganda is. Where is the propaganda? Would you please explain that more instead of just throwing bullshit out there in people's faces and acting like you know what you're talking about? Can you give us a little bit? And then people can go and research and investigate this bullshit, complete bullshit that you're saying about conservatives and Republicans. I want to know where the propaganda is. I'd appreciate it if you would explain that just a little bit to me. So, yeah, so I got just one more thing I want to add here again. I'm sorry. One more thing is the last quarter, the last election period that we just had, a conservative place that's asking for donations and whatnot from right wingers like myself are saying that the liberals came up with 50 million more dollars last voting cycle than the Republicans did. So I really want to know that, and I'd really like these conservatives, if you want to know a good story that would come out that you could put out right now with all your other good stories, maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll try and cover it, and I'll write about it, and I'll see if how it turns out. But I want to know in particular where all their funds are coming from. And the last time that I heard, what I understand was is that they cannot receive, politicians cannot receive a certain amount of money over $1. It's over $1 that they can't be given to, so that if it's over $1, they have to know, the government needs to know where the money came from. So back in 2012, and I don't know if they did it before that too, but what I understand was the liberals were given donation after donation after donation of $1. So a billion times. So how they're given the way to do that, that maybe they should ought to make it illegal for them to receive only $1 thing, because obviously they want to act like they're doing the ethical thing, but they're not. They're doing complete backwards to ethics altogether. So it is unethical, and I can't even really have a conversation with somebody from the left right now. All I can do is put this out and give my opinion and speak to people who are going to hear it. They're necessarily, I guess, who I'm intending to try to target would be potential people on the fence. But don't just go and vote for Democrats just because you're a Democrat. I have a friend who's a Democrat. He's registered that way anyways, and he votes all Republican. So I don't know. It'd be good to have more people register as a Republican. Get out of the Democrat Party, because it's pretty evil. Pretty evil. They had whatever they told. I was helping out campaigning for Marco Rubio and some other politicians at the time. I know that I was around to help Rick Scott. I would help Rick Scott out instead of Bill McCollum. That's who I decided to help try to vote to get elected here in Florida. Quiet. But anyhow, so what was I saying at the time? What does that have to do with what I'm saying? I had a point. I had a point to make about when I was helping them out. Oh, that's right. I remember. There's this. It's kind of a particular thing that I remember, and if I at the time if it pops up in my head, then I can relay it to other people. Well, whenever I was voluntarily making phone calls for Marco Rubio and the Republican Party, in not it was it's in Clay County, Florida. Um, we had there was a lady in there that I was working with at the time, and she said that a black fella showed up in a UPS truck. Now I'm from Oregon. I'm from Oregon. I lived a little bit down here in the South. When I was a kid, I lived in Georgia. My father was a active duty Marine, and we lived at Marine Corps Logistics Base in Albany, Georgia. That was my home for about 4 years. And I also lived with my grandmother in here in Jacksonville, Florida. But anyway, so this lady that I was working with in there tells me when I go in there one day that this black gentleman came in from UPS. He drove up there and just like tossed the lady the package. Seeing that it said Republican Party up on the bulletin, threw the lady the package and then jumped in his truck and said, "Hey, hey," and left like that. That's exactly how I feel when I go up to the Democrat. If I go to a Democrat Party office, I would be that creeped out myself. But for God's sakes, I want to know the conservative conspiracies that you all think that is going on and the propaganda or whatever that you guys believe over there. I like to hear some more how you think that it unravels into propaganda over here. Because maybe the more that people can't answer questions, tough questions, maybe that's the way to bring in people to enlightenment, to make them enlightened to what monarchies are, what dictatorships are, how politicians lie to get ahead. Some people, some politicians, the right ones, should get ahead solely on their word and have an honest trust with people that is not broken, that's well established. This person is honest, not dishonest. So, but with that kind of leadership and that kind of where we progress to this point, you're opening the door. We've opened the door for all this time, for a long time now, for people to come in, all right, and then not to just not be qualified for certain jobs, but them to be completely dishonest. Because the root of them not being qualified for the job in the first place says that they're going to do a terrible, terrible job once they're in there. So they're going to go in there and do the job anyways, even though they're going in there and they're doing an injustice for us and they're doing a terrible job. They're still going to go and perform the job anyways. And that's not just the White House, that's everywhere. So the more bashing that you get from the left side might necessarily be all that they make it out to be. Some of it might be for evil reason, like the evil gun control. Why would they talk bad about George Bush? If George Bush wasn't, you can't really think of that much that was going on. George Bush honestly had a surplus in our government, and um, we were not in the dire straits that we're in now, even though we should have been, right? Um, because the major problem with the American economy this time, this round, anyways, that was a lead to like a recession or even a depression in America came from the housing bubble, the abuse in house sales, like in California, what they did when they overcharged for housing way more than the house is worth, just because it's in California. So you have a beautiful place like California. Instead of being honest and decent with people, they overcharge way too much. And from what I understand, when people charge too much for a product or whatever they put out into the market, if they don't do all of their homework too with the product when they manufacture them to find out um, what the price is that's going to be going for this thing, instead of being greedy about it, they be honest and decent. They might even have more opportunity to make more money because will be more people that'll be able to buy their product. But um, what are they doing? What are they doing? They're not causing the bubble that they talk about in the economy, and that's how it gets majorly distorted was maybe not when small vendors are able to do it, but when people are able to do it on large scales. So that's just another way that business ran away from Americans, and it kind of got out of our own hands. And it's from greedy people, people that don't have a sound mind to not take too full advantage and go ahead and do some things, even though they don't necessarily have to. Because from what I understand, some rich people, they were basically, what they're doing is they're competing with another rich person on the average, or more rich people. So they want to be more rich than this other rich person, instead of looking out for other people's interests who aren't ever going to be rich. I lived my whole life and I won't ever be rich. Those people are not being looked out for. They're not being taken care of. They're being overlooked because of one person's greed, and they're not necessarily trying to go out to hurt people necessarily, I think. Not all the time, but they wind up hurting them because of their own greed and their own desire to compete with another rich person. But that hurts people one way, but another way, like I said, is to charge way too much money for something. And if you become more richer than somebody else and you're honest about it, that's what I think of, sort of like Mitt Romney. When I think about that, I think Mitt Romney uh, did all he could to be honest, and when he got all his money, he paid his taxes, he paid his tithes to whatever he is, Mormon or whatever. I don't believe in that religion at all, but I'm not gonna knock it, and I'm not gonna knock the guy for not being, for being honest. Basically, he was honest about it. And there's another guy right there. If he would have became your politician again, or your president, instead of the state that he was governor for, their governor, and he was your president, then you would have something like Trump, which I can honestly respect and endorse, because he has experience being a business savvy person that puts that together and rips people's lips and don't take no guff from people. So I'm looking to hear more from Trump, but I really would appreciate if all of the Republican candidates would make it a little bit harder for me to make my selection this early, even or later on, up to that point, by being decent with each other and just explaining how they would change things and how they're going to fix this dangerous slope that we've been on here. Because you keep going that way, it's not gonna be pretty. People are going to be, they will feel economically restrained and, confined, and like they're in prison, like they're in an economic prison. If you go Hillary Clinton or any more liberal, or don't go with somebody who the liberals had vote for their guy in '08, '09 or whatever, but then up to this point completely irritate and frustrate some man that has that much money and that much power like Trump. Up to this point, all you're seeing is Trump coming out basically whenever he talks smack. He's talking smack from basically a very realistic point. It's like if any of us were a billionaire or a millionaire, millions and millions air, right? And we were in business, and now we feel the effects of all of this liberalism come down after we voted for it. That's basically where Trump is coming from. So that's my opinion. I think that it is dire for America to get a business savvy president in next, and somebody who's going to know how to solve all of these issues that we have here and make America strong once again. Appreciate, like I said, everything here: Google Plus, Hangout, YouTube, and my viewers. Thanks for any view. Thanks. Peace.